Welcome to Keep the Game Beautiful podcast. Each week, I highlight incredible people who are doing amazing things in soccer, the beautiful game. I'm Anna Turi, your host. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to Keep the Game Beautiful. I know it's been a while, and I had to figure some stuff out. It was kind of uncomfortable and weird, but I got busy and I didn't prioritize the podcast. And in a way, I almost didn't see a spot for it in my life. My dad and I had planned to go to United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia. We were a little bit unsure about being on podcast row, but eventually we decided to. And I was a little bit unsure even once we arrived there, but I began recording my episodes and it felt so normal and so comfortable. And I began to find my why and figure out why I was doing it and why I want to share my voice. Convention is always a great place to be. It continues to reignite my fire and my light for this sport, and I will continue to love it for that. I will be posting more frequently. We still have to figure some things out, but it's definitely something that I am interested in and I want to continue to grow. Now, about my episode today. Sam Martinez is my 100th episode, which, first of all, is absolutely crazy to think about, but I have grown so much from my very first episode. And my very first episode and my 100th episode kind of have a correlation. Sam Martinez just received her FIFA badge. She is an amazing referee with a huge personality. My very first episode, which was Christina Uncle, also a FIFA referee with a big personality and someone who has so much knowledge to share. They both have been amazing support systems for me, and I'm glad to have them along my side for my journey. I learned so much from Sam today, and I hope you can pick a little bit out too. Enjoy the episode. Do you want to go ahead and start by introducing yourself and just telling us all about you?
All about me. Okay, so my name's Samantha Martinez. I'm a FIFA referee. I started refereeing when I was 2013. First started refereeing, what, 10 years ago now. Jesus. About to hit 20. Yeah, 10 years ago. Wow. I live in San Diego, California. I am in that beautiful city where that perfect weather is just amazing. Which, on the bottom side of it, I go to Chicago and it's freezing and that's when I'm dying on the field, but no. I don't know what else I should put on there.
It's all good.
Edit that.
We'll start by asking the same 3 questions I do every single podcast. So first, what does the beautiful game mean to you?
The beautiful game mean to me? It means, I will say, a lot. It's something where it's hard to explain because a lot of my time goes to the game. A lot of my events, a lot of the time, the people make the game so beautiful, right? It's the people you meet, the people you come across. But the game itself, it gives me chills because I step on the pitch and people are like, oh my gosh, how are you in front of so many people and you're reffing and how do you do it? And it's I love it. It brings that energy that the game brings. I love it. Men's and women's game. For me, the game means more than I can put in words, I would say. And it has to do with everything. The game itself, being at the stadium, hanging out with your referee colleagues. They're more family, you see them more and hang out with them more, and you're on the road a lot, so those are the people you see when you're away from your family. So it's family away from home, which is amazing. I can call Florida and I have friends over there that were, at first we start off as just referee colleagues, and now you have that family where you can call any other place and you can have that time, that place to go and find, that's what the game means a lot. The game means a lot. It's not just one thing that I can point out and say, hey, it's because of this, or hey, it's because of that. Because for me, it's just a whole bubble that you put together and you just start throwing stuff in there.
What are actions or things you do to keep the game beautiful?
Oh man, what are actions or things that I do to keep the game beautiful? Are you talking on the pitch?
On or off?
On or off? Wow, this is a hard question, Anna. On the pitch, obviously, keep it as fair as possible. Just do my job. Make sure I'm healthy and fit to do the job, the best job I can do. Make the game a memorable one, right? You don't want to be that one where it points out to you did this or whatever. You just want to call a fair game to keep it beautiful. That's one way to keep it beautiful. Know your rules, know the laws of the game. You want to be able to bring positive to the game, right? And not always, we're always as we're known as referees, the cause of the game, or, but I do my best to put that smile on, even when the players are yelling, put a smile on or something. You gotta make sure. I like to make it fun. Like for me, if you're not having fun, like I don't know why you don't do it, or why you're doing it. But for me, it's making it memorable, making it where you're smiling out there, where you're having fun, especially with your colleagues. If you see someone that needs help or whatever, you help them.
Yeah.
But I think that's one way I do it. But it's interesting that you asked that, because it's like, for us as referees, we're known as, oh, it's your fault or whatever. But it's like, don't fall into that to where you're gonna go and you just don't want to fall into it where you're, you go on there and you see the Instagram or tweets or whatever, and there's times where you're like boiling up and you're like, no, you gotta stay, fair to it. So that's all I can say.
Yeah. How do you encourage others to keep the game beautiful?
To do their work. To do their part in their game, right? So it's like, be out there, be running, be moving, mentor, do your part, as in like, make sure you know the laws, make sure you know what we're doing out there, Or like I tell some people, at least do that effort to take that time to learn more of the game. There's always a learning game. Like, rewatch your games. Watch yourself on film. What did I do right? What can I do better? Like, we gotta take. I encourage people to go and do that. Especially young ones like you, where you're starting up. It's like, I'll tell you what I did and I did right or did wrong. So learn from my mistakes or whatever. So so that's how you can encourage more people. That's what I do.
Can you talk a little bit about how you started officiating?
How I started officiating is a funny story. So for me, I was playing. I just at a community college. I was ready just to stop anything with soccer. I was, I've been playing since I was with the ball on my feet, 4 years old. My, typical Mexican, where you're just growing up with the ball at your feet. My brothers play, so we're a big family of 5. So I was always involved in soccer. But I hit that point where you're like, you know what, I'm done. This is too much. Like, let's hang it up. And I had my college coach, assistant college coach, say, hey, why don't you try reffing? He was bugging me a little at times. He'd be like, hey, try reffing. And I'm like, do you know me? I had all the yellow cards and all the red cards in the world. Why would you want me to be a referee? So say, hey, look, and this is how he convinced me. Keeping it as honest as I can. He goes, why don't you do it? You're a college student, extra cash in your pocket. You do that, for 90 minutes, you get $75. That was 10 years ago, so you can imagine. I was like, so you're telling me if I just work, instead of working a full shift at, I don't know, Starbucks, I'm going to do one game and pretty much have what I could have had all right, cool, money. So at first I started because of money.
Yeah.
And then the motivation happened more when I'm like out there reffing. I loved it. So when I tried at first, I'm like, I kid you not, my first game ever, I remember I was in the middle, and the signer didn't know that. By accident, he didn't know that I was new to the game. So my first time I call a corner kick, I'm pointing down versus like an AR versus pointing to the corner. And he asks me after the game, he goes, hey, how long you been reffing for? I'm like, oh, it's my first game. And he just turns his head, he's like, what? And he goes, well, you did a really good job. And little by little, it's just like, well, I played it my whole life.
Yeah.
And it was just, you get motivated by like, hey, try this. And it was game after game. I was doing weekends after weekends. Different people that came across my path. There's so many to even name, but that's how it started, by my assistant college coach saying, hey, try it. And I'm, fine, I'll try it. It was kind of like a dare, he said. Dare you to try it. You won't do it. And I'm like, I'm that person where don't tell me, I'll do it. And when I started doing it, I noticed there was no females.
Yeah.
So for me, that was my biggest motivation. I'm like, there's no females doing this. You had players that were like under 10s, U8s, and they were like I've never had a women referee women referee my game, and I'd be like, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Are you serious right now? Never have I had. I'm like, okay, like, well, maybe you can be the next one, like, you know. So it motivated you. It's like, okay, everywhere you go, and then they tell you the hardest games or the harder games, you know, try doing men's, or in their heads, right? People will tell you that, quote unquote, well, why don't you try it for a men's game? All right, because you wouldn't see women's back, you know, 10 years ago it was a lot less. So when I noticed that not many women referee were doing men's games, is now that it became more of a, oh, I want to do that too. Let's go. So I would even tell my signers, put me on nothing but men's games, please. Like, please put me on nothing but men's games, just so I can do what people, quote unquote, the higher and harder games.
Yeah.
So I learned off of that. But then, you know, I also love doing women's games. So it's for me, it was one motivation after another, especially when you're female starting up. Like, there's not many of us. There wasn't many of us. Now there's more, which is amazing, and I want to keep on bringing them to show them they can do it, you know. So for me, it was just started by a dare by my community college coach, and little by little it just continued one thing after another, where I'm like, oh, I can do now higher level games. Oh, you know, they tell you like, hey, so you start off doing the U8, C6, you start, you know, as an assistant referee. I did a million as an assistant referee, and I thought I was going to be an assistant referee track. Then I realized when I stepped in the middle, I was like, oh no, I'm more of a referee. I like to be in charge. Let's go. Like, I like to be the team leader, or kind of thing, you know. So for me, it was like, okay, I was trying to pick my path. So it starts little by little. You don't know what route you want to take. You're kind of trying to figure yourself out, and it's, you know, test trials. Like I told you, you'll have those games where you have, and you're thinking, oh my God, I just completely messed up on my offside, and I did it completely wrong. And then you're in the middle, vice versa, because, you know, when you're first starting off, you're doing both. And then you're in the middle, you're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't handle the pressure of the players or coaches or parents yelling at me. So for me, it was a lot of test trials where what way do I want to go, what route do I want to take. But then I figured I love being in the middle, and my personality was more for the middle. Joking matter was more like, you know, but then as you know, then you become more secure with what route you want to take. And for me, for the longest time, after 3 years of reffing, I was like, oh, I want to be in the middle. Like, I want to be the center referee. I just liked it that much. So then it became one thing after another. I remember doing my President's Cup, you know, President's Cup regional or whatever it's called, President's Cup championships. You're being sent out somewhere, and then you get selected regionals, and then to nationals. Like, it's just the process of it for you. Like, it's one thing, and then you want to do more, and you want to keep going, and I'm like, no, and I want to, and I kept setting those small little goals for myself that I want to keep going and getting to the next level, to the next phase. And for me, I've always had said, I'm like, my ultimate goal, I want that white badge. And I kept telling people since I was like starting, I'm like, that's my goal. I want to reach that, because I see those people, those referees or colleagues, what they were doing and how amazing they're doing. I'm like, oh, I want to be that person. I want to be that person that's on that screen doing the game, and it's something where it's motivating seeing those females out there refereeing now. Like, you know, this last World Cup, men's World Cup, we've come so far. So you see how far we've come, and it's for you, you're like, they're setting the pathway, and it's like, let's go, let's keep going, you know, just like in MLS now they have females reffing. So it's for me, it's the process of wanting and doing better and keep it moving for the younger ones. So for me, it's like, no, we can do it, let's keep going, let's keep the ball rolling. But that's how I started. I mean, it started off by a dare, and it continued by motivation. And you do hit times where you're kind of like, is this for me or is it not? You know, you hit those times, but you learn more about yourself, you learn more about the game, you learn about how to become better and how to mature while you're not mature, not the right word, how to take those test trials when you have that one game where you're like, oh God, I just completely messed that game up. How, like you go through that phases where you're just kind of like, God, is this for me? And you know, like I told you, you have a process, or everybody has their own little thing where you do 24 hours. Wipe your hands off and say, all right, on to the next one. Take those pointers to get better. So it's like, you know, all that stuff just motivates you to keep going, and it kind of gives you that power to, like, for yourself, right? You're like, no, I want to do better than the last game. So it's always, I want to do better than this. It's always improvement. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah. This is actually a great way to relate back to my very first episode. I interviewed Christina Uncle, and she told me to catch and release my mistakes, and I've kind of kept that throughout my entire journey. Was it hard for you to learn to accept your mistakes for a while? Did you ever struggle?
Very hard. Because as officials, we want the game to be perfect. Which goes back to how you want to keep this game beautiful. You want it to be perfect, but we're not perfect, right? None of us are. Like, I'm not perfect, so I know I'm not perfect, but we want it to be as perfect as we can. Like, you had that gut feeling when you called that wrong, I don't know, corner kick. Yeah. And you're just like, oh my God, it was completely, and you realize it till after you watch the film, and you're like, okay, but how could I have done that better? So yeah, like it's a hard process because you're so focused on making it, like making it right, making sure it goes as smooth as possible. But there's times where it's not going to go that way. So you got to take and learn, how can I release right from that wrong game? How can I continue to get better? Or what did I do in this game where I'm like, okay, you know what? Dun, dun, dun. All right, I gotta do that in the next game. If it was I looked at the wrong time, turned my neck at the wrong time, or did I, you just gotta step down, or my wrong angle. I tried to take a thing 2 steps to my right or 2 steps to my left. I would have had a better angle. So it is a process, but you'll learn that in every game you're gonna have something to learn from. And that's the hardest part, because there's times where you're thinking, oh, I had the perfect game, but there's no perfect game. And it took me a while to learn that, because you're just thinking, I never thought I had a perfect game, but you're always wanting to have that perfect game, but you're never going to have a perfect game. I mean, there's so many calls that we're doing throughout the game. We can only just improve to make sure it's as best as we have.
Yeah.
Give our best. That's why that's how it should be. But
sometimes when we're officiating, it feels like coaches expect us to be perfect, or they don't understand that we're also still learning. How can we kind of bridge that gap, or help coaches try to understand us a little bit more?
Be human. Be as human as possible as you can. Obviously, keep it professional, but you're a human, right? And they know you're human, but it's also, there's times where it doesn't work every time, but it should work one or twice where you made a mistake, and they're yelling, look, hey, that's my fault. I got it. It's on me. Don't do it every time. You have 1 or 2 times in the game where you can do that, but they drop down to you, and they know, hey, she admitted it. She kind of agrees with me. Like, we're human. She's human. I'm a human. So there's times where you gotta just use your personality, use what you have in your toolbox, so they can relate to you, to where they think they want to have us to be perfect, but it's like there's times where they make their own mistakes as well, and they realize when we kind of like own our own mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying own every single one of them as in like, oh, wrong throwing. Like, know when and pick and choose your battles, but to close that gap has to come with being as human and humble as possible.
Yeah.
It's not always playing that, hey, no, it's me, I'm correct, I'm the referee, and I say so, and no, it's being as human and humble as possible.
So you brought up one of your main driving factors was being one of the only women in the game, and it's continuing to grow, the number of women, especially officiating, but it's still not quite there. How can we get women officials?
By empowering other women, giving you that, not, let me help you fix your crown, let's not take off your crown. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's by empowering each other to bring more people in. For me, it was like I would only see 1 or 2 here and there, and I'm like, where are the rest of you? And there's times where you were a player. I was a player. Now when I referee, and afterwards they're like, oh my God, it's so cool, you're a referee.
Yeah.
Hey, you can be one too. It's by using our voices, right, to empower other females to do it as well. I know we're not as many, but you should be amazed by how many now I see than what I used to see. It'd be like, oh, there's 2 of us in this field today, like, and it's like 100 guys. And it's like, well, really? But it's by empowering, just how we started players, right? It's by advocating ourselves. Hey, you like how I referee? You can do that too. You can be a referee too. Give it a shot. You don't always have to just be a coach or something else, right? You're how old? 18? You can get better by refereeing, by knowing the game more, by knowing the laws, by becoming a referee. So you use your little, techniques to try to get more referees. And for me, I aim at the players. I aim at the players and say, hey, I used to be like you. So there's times where I'm like, yeah, and they're like, hey, nice kick, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you gotta use your personality again, like, to recruit people, more females. But that's one way to get more, is by simply talking and saying, hey, you want to try it? Give it a try. Why not?
In anything soccer, it can sometimes be intimidating when you're around all males and you can possibly get talked down to or maybe even mansplained. How do you deal with that and move forward?
You gotta know sometimes when to have ears of a that are deaf, right? Where it's white noise or whatever. Because I have gone to, I'm Mexican, so there's a lot of machismo when you do. When it's all two Mexican teams and it's machismo and they're doing a 2 men's team and they're like, oh, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. Whatever. You get those stuff. You got to know how to say, no, I belong here. It's a game and we're now a part of it. And yes, it's a men's game. I said you have men on men games. You have women on men's games. You have female. You have women on women games and you have men on women games. It's now part of what the culture is. Like, let's keep it that way. They got to understand that it's now part of the game, and when you get talked to, it's hard, or you get told, hey, no, you don't belong, whatever they say, who knows what they say nowadays. But white noise, white noise, just like when someone's telling you, no, it's throwing for red, and you're like calling it for black. It's like, no, this is what I have, this is what I saw, and be sure of yourself. I'm sure that I belong here. I'm sure that I can do as good as a job. And I said, why not just have the best referee? I don't care who it is, female, male, whoever. Have just the best referee out there. That's for me. It's when they're, let's say it's a big game and it's 2 men teams, and they're telling the crowd's telling you don't belong, and it's like, just be sure of yourself. No, I belong here. I earned this, and just like he had earned it, I earned it as well. Like, you're sure of yourself.
And it sounds like it comes a lot from confidence. What advice would you give someone who's lacking in confidence, either as a referee or just as a person in their daily life?
If you're lacking in confidence, the one thing I recommend people is, the one way to get it is by practicing. Practice makes perfect, and the more practice you have, the more you're going to be sure of yourself. So the more you know the actual laws, the more you know what signal to you, or the little things, right? Because I'm taking it way back to when you're starting up. The more you know the rules, when to implement your toolbox of, hey, my personality, oh no, you know what, here's when I'm gonna do this, or this is when I gotta give the yellow card. The more you know that, the more confidence you're gonna get in yourself and look in yourself. I mean, there's times where I remember standing, I still do, there's times where I'm like, corner kick, am I pointing the right way? Is my hand straight up? Is it too low? Is it whatever? Correcting yourself, and then asking others, like, hey, how do when you get those assessments? And then don't always be so negative on, I gotta improve. No, I just did a game, and sometimes I look back and I think, I just did 1,000 calls in your head, right? Corner kick, no corner kick, goal kick, no goal kick, all that stuff. And you gotta give yourself credit. Like, I survived the game. We did good. 2, it wasn't a bad, you have to give yourself credit at times when credit needs to be given, and that you gotta boost yourself. But you also got to make sure you put yourself in a situation where you're going to get better and be better and give yourself that more confidence to be confident in yourself and, hey, no, I got this.
When did you decide you wanted to start working up the ranks and eventually get your FIFA badge? It was always just in my head. Like, I was like, I want to get there. I want to do that. Because I've always, like I said, how, like, we're talking about you getting the state championships and doing moving on up, and it's like you start thinking state championships, like, okay, the next one I want to make sure I get, my next final is the final championship for college. Okay, and after that I want to do, you start just pushing your bar up, and you keep going, and you keep saying, like, for me, when it started, it was when I got my national badge. I'm like, oh, now I can have a shot at actually being selected for FIFA. I'm like, okay, let me keep moving forward. Let's see how far this goes. But for me, I've always wanted to get the higher. I guess not one game after another. You want to get another game that's better, or you want to get something. You want to just keep moving on up, right? So if it becomes, you go from doing just pro games, like, okay, no, I want the international games. Okay, so it's for me, it was always wanting more, and it becomes something where your goals at. If you're okay just and your goals to do NWSL, perfect, beautiful. Did you hit your goal? I'm glad. So everybody has their different goals, but for me, like FIFA, I don't know why it always
was like something I like savored for. Like, I want that. That's what I want. I want to get there, and I'm gonna get there. So I made everything to where gave myself more confidence to where no, you can get there. You can do this. Like, was there times where I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen? Yeah, so many, and it's still real to me still like that. I've reached that level. I just still can't believe it. But I'm like, now I'm here. Now what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
So now I got to set myself to another goal. What's your next goal? What are you going to do next? All right, if it starts off for me, I got to start off with either, U16s, U17 World Cups or whatever. But for me, it's like, now that I have it? Okay, you got it, Samantha. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And I work harder. Now it's time to work even harder than what I got to get here. Now it's time to put it on the big stage, which now, work as hard as I was going, but even harder. So it's keep going, keep moving forward.
As you continue working forward, you get bigger assignments, and they just get seen by so many more people. Do you ever deal with nerves or anxiety when going into a higher level match?
Oh, of course. I mean, when you do matches, if you're not nervous, something might be wrong. But you get the first game butterflies, right? Where like, okay, I'm now, like I remember when I was to do my first let's say my first, it was the U.S. Women's National Team. I was the fourth official, and even for that I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is oh my gosh, like, okay, even, I mean, the little things, right? So it's like you get nervous, but it's part of the game. It's part of how you do it, but it's because you're excited. It's like, it might not be nervous because, oh my God, I'm going to mess the game up or whatever. Like, you go through all those little phases, but it's like, I like that feeling because it's that feeling where you're like thinking, all right, here's something new. Let's get it going. Like, you can do this. Like, but yes, it's you get those butterflies. Everybody, I mean, I wouldn't say everybody. Some people get different butterflies, or some people that are like, no, I need to have music. You got your little thing. Do your thing, and know that when you're gonna get out there, you're gonna do your thing.
Yeah. You worked the D1 women's final game, and there was a lot of controversy on that. I saw it all over social media. But how did you manage that?
Oh, so you're putting me on the spot. How did I manage that? It's funny because I get my people, my telling me stay off of that. Why are you seeing that? Because I was happy with the game that I had. The controversial stuff that you're talking about, yes, people have, and they're foul no foul or goal no goal thing kind of thing. Yeah, you're gonna get that in games, and the Twitter can blow up, the Facebook can blow up, the Instagram. All I can tell you is stay off of it. That's what, and it's hard because you're there and you're looking at it, but be confident in what you did in that game. And I came off that game, I'm like, I'm happy with it. This is a good. I love this game. This is the atmosphere, how it led to to overtime, like everything leading up to it. Like, I'm like, if I'm confident with what I did, stay off of it. Don't read it. Yes, there's times where you get, that little jitter to go, I want to go look at it. And it's like, but why? Why are you going to do that to put your self-esteem down? Yeah. So just stay off of it. It's, the best thing you can tell people, just ignore it. Go and rewatch the game and get those notes out and see what I could have done better, what could have helped better, or in that specific call, was there anything I could have done better, or what did other people, it is what it is after the game, but how does that help you with the social media stuff? Stay off of it. Staying off of it. Yeah, it's hard to say because we're human and we want to see what other people are saying, but why do it to yourself?
So I have one final question that I end most podcasts with. The question is, what do you hope people remember about your impact to soccer and the world?
What do I hope people remember me in soccer and the world? I hope they remember who I am as a person on and off the field, right? Because on the field, this girl's just looking at you and like, you're that, that face you give, that mean face, or when you're getting a yellow card, red card, and it's like, I hope they know that we're also human, that I'm also human, and they know how hard we work to get to where we're at. So for me, it's like, get to know me, so it's like, I hope it's, people involved in the game, refereeing, my mentors, my colleagues, my assigners. I hope they remember my personality and who I am. I'm that, person who wants to have fun, who wants to make sure everybody on the field is having fun and also doing their work. So I hope they remember that. I hope they remember that smile when you walk up, like, hey, you're just walking up to get your sign-in sheet. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I remember when I was, out in Surf Cup, out in Nomads, in San Diego or regionals where, oh, here she comes, no, that's a loud one. Here she comes, I want them to remember who I am. I am going to always be myself. I'm always going to be outspoken, smiley, super hyper or whatever. There's times where you're just like in your own little bubble. I want them to remember me as a person on and off the field, on the field, knowing that they know hopefully that I gave my all, gave my full and best self at all times. Yeah, not all times are sunny sunshine or whatever, but we're human, and not just so remember me as who I am as a person. Like I said, soccer's a big part of me. Yeah, and it means a lot to me. And there's times where like you sacrifice so much, so it's like you want them to remember the real you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Love talking to you. Keep it up. Keep doing your thing, girl.
Thank you.
In Philadelphia, I learned so much about myself. Convention is just an amazing place to be, and I am so glad I went. I really found my voice. In the past, I used to be very scripted and very worried about pleasing my guest and pleasing you listeners. But this convention, I kind of went more from my heart, from what I wanted to learn, and it truly just benefited me so much more. And I know what I wanted to learn. I'm sure some of you want to learn or enjoyed listening to as well. The time away from the podcast was a little bit uncomfortable, but it really helped me grow as a person. It made me think about what I wanted in my life. And now that I'm finished with my first semester in college, I began to think about my future. And this is a way I want to share my voice for as long as possible. I'm not sure what the future holds, but for now, I'm really going to try my best to keep this going. I loved talking to Sam today, and I really hope you enjoyed it as well. And until next time, remember to keep the game beautiful.